Understanding API designs, understanding database schemas, understanding basic databases like RDBMS of like let's say maybe MySQL or PGSQL. These are some very basic things that you have to know as the backend core concepts, or I would say the backend core problems, right? Till now, I have worked with a couple of companies. I started my career with a couple of small startups. Then I migrated to LinkedIn. I worked with Google, now working with Microsoft. So there has been quite different, diverse set of projects that I contributed to backend aspect. But this time, the focus is more on the big data concepts, things like PySpark, how exactly PySpark jobs are actually written, how exactly Kafka gets integrated into the overall system. So I believe when we are going to put this particular video, it's going to be 2025. And I wanted to actually record this video from quite some time, but I was skeptical that whether should I do it or not do it. But after a couple of discussions with a few friends of mine, I thought that, okay, let's actually do this. So in this particular video, I'm going to talk about how has been my journey as an overall software engineering with respect to specifically the contributions that I have done as the backend core concepts, or I would say the backend core problems, right? Till now, I have worked with a couple of companies. I started my career with a couple of small startups. Then I migrated to LinkedIn. I worked with Google, now working with Microsoft. So there has been quite different, diverse set of projects that I contributed to, right? And it's been quite a fun journey, and I would like to share this journey with you guys, that how actually I evolved myself as a backend engineer. What are the things, what are different kind of problems that I worked with. Of course, a lot of these problems are not something that I have solely solved. There has been dedicated team effort. I have been always blessed with a very nice team members who actually supported and actually contributed to these problems as well. But still, what has been my role, what has been my order of execution of things is something that we are going to talk about in this particular video. So this is going to be something which is very specific to me, but I would love you guys to listen to this and listen to the very end as well, because there will be a lot of learnings that probably you might get out of this particular video. So without any further delay, let's just start. So before moving forward in the video, I have an important announcement for you. So if you're somebody who is actually willing to learn advanced backend technologies, then this is going to be the right platform for you. So at Algocamp, we have launched our new flagship Lambda 4.0 Advanced Live Backend Development Batch, in which you are going to learn advanced backend technologies including Fastify, Express.js, AWS, Mongo, DynamoDB and whatnot. This is going to be a power-packed course in which we are going to take you from the very scratch, very basics of backend technologies to the very advanced level by building a lot of interesting projects. We are going to build projects like Code Sandbox Clone. We are going to build streaming app which will include recorded movie streaming plus live streaming as well. We are going to make applications like Booking.com backend, which is going to help you understand transactional capabilities, integrations of payment gateways and many more. All the important projects that we are going to cover in the course is going to be listed here, and this is going to be an absolute live course where we are going to take live classes, right? And in these live classes, we are going to do hands-on coding experience to learn all the important advanced backend technologies. You already know that backend is something that every important application needs, and you can actually excel your software engineering career with these backend tech in the Node.js stack. So what are you waiting for? All the important links, the complete syllabus, curriculum, all the details of the course is present in the description section below. You can use the coupon code coming up here to get maximum discount off on the current price. I'm really excited for the course. I hope you guys are too. And now let's get back to the video. So I actually started exploring things in the web development niche. It was approximately around 2017 when I was in my end of second semester, right? I started learning basic HTML, CSS, just like how everybody starts their dev journey almost, right? And then I started exploring things around in backend. So I was exploring what are the tech available and what I should learn, because at that point of time there was a lot of hype around Python Django, right? Startups like HackerEarth and all were using Python Django. Then there was a lot of hype around Ruby on Rails, like companies like GitHub, companies like Coinbase, companies like HackerRank, all of these are built on Ruby on Rails, right? And apart from that, the Merge stack, the node-based journey was actually coming up. They were getting a lot of hype because of the new latest JavaScript frameworks and libraries. And of course, the evergreen Java Spring Boot stack was there. I chose things with Ruby on Rails because I wanted to build things quick, and I learned just one thing, that if you want to build things quick, then Rails should be the way to go for. And I started exploring things around with Rails. Interestingly, while learning Ruby on Rails, I made basic projects, like I made kind of like a basic Twitter, or you can say Quora kind of like application, so that at least I can learn how the database schemas are actually built, how transactional capabilities can be built, and so on, like the basic set of projects that you definitely build while you are learning any backend tech. Okay. Interestingly, although I was not expecting this, but I was able to grab more than one internships in Ruby on Rails domain only. So my first internship was actually as a front-end engineer in Angular, but the back-end of the product was in Ruby on Rails, so I was able to get some context and make some contributions there. But my second internship that actually gave me the maximum amount of learning during those intern days was as a back-end engineer in Ruby on Rails. Along with, there was a service-oriented architecture that we were building, which was a chat service that we were building with Node and sockets. I was able to get decent amount of opportunities, I believe, with Ruby on Rails. A lot of people used to complain still, and at that point of time also, that not a lot of startups are building things in Ruby on Rails, so on and so forth. But fortunately, I was able to get a lot of opportunities there, and I worked on some interesting things there. Majorly, my work was related to make sure that the complete app backend, including all the database design, all the coding structure, the management of deployments, everything was done by me end to end. It was pretty interesting for me to have these couple of services which were communicating with each other, how the deployments of those services are going to be done. We used to have a lot of discussion around the API designs, what we should expose in what particular format, so that the Android front end can actually consume that. And this actually gave me a lot of learning. And I believe if you want to start your journey as a backend engineer, understanding API designs, understanding database schemas, understanding basic databases like RDBMS of, like, let's say maybe MySQL or PGSQL, these are some very, very basic things that you have to know, right? And post that my journey in Google Summer of Code also started, right? And I did an internship with ISRO as well. In ISRO, again, I was working on the backend aspect of the things with Python, right? There were some Python celery jobs that I have to work on, which were actually getting integrated with the ML pipelines. Post that, I actually worked with GSOC, where I worked on Meteor.js, which is a full stack framework. But again, there were a lot of features that I have to work on, again, with respect to the backend. And all of my learnings around API designing, all of my learning around database, all of my learning around WebSockets and REST APIs, everything actually worked well there. But interestingly, till now, whatever backend tech I was working with was mostly around either Ruby, Python or JS, which was mostly non-type safe kind of languages. My first shocker actually came into the picture when I joined LinkedIn. Now, in LinkedIn, again, I was a full stack engineer with a lot of projects that I was involved with were around backend. Now, LinkedIn's backend was in Java, and writing classes and interface for every small and single thing was kind of like, again, as I mentioned, a shocker for me. So there we worked on a framework named as RESTly, which was a LinkedIn-based open source framework only, right? But the overall concepts were very similar to any other Java framework that exists altogether. And this was the first time when I was doing dev in Java. So again, there was a friction about things with Java, but I believe majority of the learning in Java actually came during that phase only. So we were working on the enterprise provisioning product of LinkedIn. That was majorly that whenever any enterprise buys any LinkedIn product, so after the payment, whatever used to happen around allocation and deallocation was something that was handled by our team, right? And most of the LinkedIn projects were actually part of this particular team. So there only we learned about a lot of things around the transactional capabilities of the database. And one of the most interesting things that I learned was microservices and how exactly communication between microservices work. Different layers of the architecture, front end, middle end, back end. In the back end, how orchestration layer works, how API gateways works. Everything I actually learned there. This was the first time when I was getting introduced to all of these concepts. And apart from that, the learning around testing, yes, unit testing and integration testing. This was the very first time when I was actually getting introduced to these testing concepts, because previously I worked with mostly startups, and generally in startups, testing related culture doesn't come like in the early stages. So there was not much exposure to that. But in LinkedIn, we have to write dedicated test of any and every single line of code that we used to have. And this thorough testing, I would say, culture was something that was getting introduced there. I learned a lot of things like why there are mocks required, why do you need to create mocks, how asynchronous calls testing is done, how synchronous call testing is done. Everything around testing that I actually started to learn was at that point of time only. So quite a vast variety of things I actually learned specific to backend tech. Of course, there was domain knowledge as well, very specific knowledge to the product as well. The flow related knowledge was there, but specifically if you see how I evolved as a backend engineer, this was kind of like a very big breakthrough, right, in terms of learning that I got at LinkedIn. Post and like previous to LinkedIn, I worked with one more startup like InterviewBit, where again there was Ruby on Rails based things, but mostly there I felt like whatever knowledge of Ruby on Rails I already had, that was getting passed on, and mostly we were trying to ship features relatively a bit more faster, right? But in LinkedIn, this was a complete game changer. And then came Google, right? In Google, I worked with C++ based backend, I worked with Java based backend. The interesting thing about Google was that every single tech that we were working on was very specific to Google. It's more or less not available outside. But one of the important things that I learned was a new communication standard that was gRPC, which was based on RPC calls. I learned that why gRPC is important, how you can make gRPC call efficiently, how in a complex architecture gRPC can be really helpful. Every single call, every single communication between microservices were actually done by gRPC there. So I learned about protocol buffers, how exactly these communication can be improved. And then I learned about very specific things around C++, very specific things around, let's say Java, that how, because there also the framework was specific to Google, internal Google frameworks were there. But again, it was very similar to any other C++ open source framework like Crow or Java frameworks like Spring Boot. Like they were having a touch of that. Apart from these communication protocols and communication standard, in Google, a good amount of learning actually came with respect to design docs, writing design docs, that whatever type of feature we had to implement, we had to write kind of like a good thorough design doc. I myself read probably more than 5 to 6 design docs, right? After spending probably an year at Google, we were expected to like write design docs, and those design docs are something that is a legacy work, right? Like once you write it and it's there forever. People can actually come back to those design docs and see what I have written. And in these design docs, there were very thorough discussions, very thorough design reviews that happened. For a lot of projects, there were a lot of different choices that we had, and why we took one choice was something that we had to go through. These design docs included the high level and low level design aspect of the solution. So we had to put some really interesting code snippets there as well. And this was kind of like, again, very big game changing scenario for me, because prior to this, I was never involved in any design documentation, writing stuff. And this actually improved my skill as an engineer as well. And apart from that, contributing to products like GPay introduced me to how a huge amount of load actually comes in these kind of applications. Google Pay handles like approximately 30% to 40% part of the overall UPI infrastructure. There is a lot of load. Due to these loads, a lot of problems actually come into the picture. And there were a lot of interesting projects that UPI infrastructure was developing. There was UPI on CC, UPI Lite, UPI support for ADMs and whatnot. So again, with respect to product also, there was a lot of learning. Google Tech was again a learning in itself. But this part of interesting communication protocols, interesting internal Google frameworks, and writing design docs was something that was completely game changer for me. Post that, I came to Microsoft, and it's been quite a fun ride at Microsoft as well. An interesting thing again in Microsoft as well is I am heavily focusing on the backend aspect, but this time the focus is more on the big data concepts, things like PySpark, how exactly PySpark jobs are actually written, how exactly Kafka gets integrated into the overall system, how these jobs improve our overall billing system. These are something that I'm working on. I cannot tell a lot about my current work as of now, but I can tell you that currently, these big data concepts handling humongous amount of data from our data warehouses and data lakes, this is something that is coming up to myself, right? And I'm learning all of these concepts. I'm trying to contribute to all of this. We are trying to build interesting projects and interesting products that can help us to do all of these billing pipelines and billing infrastructure work, right? I was fortunate enough to get some really interesting projects in the early stages as well, where I had to work on some interesting scaling related problems as well for our pipelines. But it's nice. It's pretty good. It's pretty nice, and I'm really enjoying the work here as well. So you can see, like overall throughout my journey, if I just specifically talk about the backend aspect, there has been different type of learnings. I have contributed to the front end of a lot of products as well, but this video was mainly around how I evolved as a backend engineer. What are the things that I slowly and steadily learned? And this is something that you also have to go through. You are also going to learn one thing at a time, one step at a time. right? But the interesting thing is, whatever you are building, whatever, let's say it's a personal project, it's an internship, make sure that you have some new thing to learn and an interesting edge problem to solve. In every team that I actually went to, there was some very interesting problems that we were solving, and that actually gave us the main kick that, okay, we have to build this. Apart from that, as an engineer, things like on calls, things like design docs is going to come up to you like once you start working, and this is going to be also one of the fun parts and one of the stressful parts as well. So I hope this overall journey technically would have given you an idea that how I evolved and how I am still learning, right? It's not something that I know everything about any particular tech, right? I still see myself like maybe 15 years, 20 years down the line, still building things, still learning things, and I overall love this, I would say, profession as well. So try to make sure that you start your journey as soon as possible, start contributing to something as soon as possible, learn new tech, and this is going to help you a lot. That being said, let's wrap this particular video here, and we are going to meet soon in the next set of videos where we are going to talk about some more interesting stuff around your career and tech. Till then, take care. Bye-bye. I'm Sanket Singh, signing off.